It feels good. Boy, what a time.
What a time to be alive. Good morning to Zero Hit Points. It's Wednesday, July 5th. I'm Ryan Miller. And born on the 5th of July, Matt Amberg.
Yeah.
It seemed a lot funnier when I thought about it earlier.
Did it?
Because we're actually recording on the day that this thing's coming out. This isn't even like we took a day off for the country. And
is that the reason?
What?
I didn't take the day off for that.
And now we're recording and on the same day. So congratulations.
We're gonna have to go through this fast so that you can edit it.
How come you don't have morning voice?
Because I've been up for like 6 hours.
Oh, is that what I have to do? Well, okay, we're gonna stick with morning voice.
Yeah, no, I mean I've been working. I took a half day off today.
Oh, well, thank you. The internet thanks you.
The internet.
What did you do for the holiday?
You know,
I'm interested.
We did not a lot. We baked some bread. We made some blueberry bread.
4th of July blueberry bread?
Sure, it was blue and blue.
Blueberries, and then you did like star frosting.
We covered it in ketchup. And then frosting, yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
It's patriotic.
It was pretty awful. No, we took an 8.5, 9 mile bike ride in 90-degree weather, which I'm not gonna lie to you, not fun. And then on top of that, the direction we ended up going, there was a hill that was not just like, it looked like from the side, you kind of look at it and you're like, oh, that's not too bad. Then you look at it from the bike's perspective and you're like, oh man, that is like 85 degrees up. And
85 degrees outside and up.
Yeah, it was bad. It was Beth has a bike that has gears on it, and I have a fixed gear bike. So like she was like, oh, I'll just put it in low gear and pedal up, it's no problem. And I'm like, all right,
look at me go.
I basically have one chance to do this, and it's long. It was a long hill too. So I was, by the time we got to the top of that, I fell off the bike and I was like, I'm dying.
What kind of bike is it? Still, it's some sort of
it's just a
mountain
cruiser
bike?
No, it's just a little cruiser bike. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, nobody was expecting this, so it was a shocker. But then
it's cool. We're in the same boat. You did the same thing I did. When I came time to buy a bike, I was like, yeah, I'm buying a BMX bike because that's what I like, and those are what bikes are.
Right.
And then anything else anybody wants to do anytime, I'm just, nope, I can't. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I've only got a dinky dyno.
You're like, oh, yeah, basically, exactly.
Then we came home and we watched movies. Not just any movies, bad movies. Well, not true. Well,
or
I guess it just depends.
It's a roller coaster.
Last week I talked about Jason Lives. I watched that. That was the flick where Friday the 13th Part 6, I think is what that one is. Yeah, 6. And Tommy Jarvis comes back, and that's the one where it's the Tommy Jarvis from the video game and everything. So we decided, Beth has never seen, nor did she really know, that Jason went to space in Jason X. So she's been like kind of amped to see that. She's like real into whatever this nonsense is going to turn into. But I can't watch that movie because I haven't finished 8 and 9 yet.
Gotta go in order. No,
yeah, so
the story doesn't make any sense.
It's totally, it was 7, 8, and 9 actually. So yeah, it's just a nightmare. So over the past week, I've watched 7, 8, and 9. So Jason X is this week. It's primo. We're ready for it's gonna be.
Wait, you watched 7, 8, and 9 this week?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. No. So this is where I don't, again, reference the last episode of the show, and I go into a little bit more how in Jason Lives, that's really the Jason that people kind of remember, and kind of that was the start of it, where he was kind of everywhere. He was real, like, way more supernatural, where he could be in. He was suddenly there. Friday the 13th Part 7, straight up they've thrown out any pretense to the fact that there could be any reality-based situation going on here with outside of the fact that Jason is, he keeps coming back to life. Now they've gone straight to, we've got a psychic girl who kills her father at Camp Crystal Lake before Jason is sunk at this point, by the way. So this happens prior to Jason being sunk in the last movie by Tommy. So he's not in the lake yet. So when she's a little girl.
So it's a wait.
So we start off.
It's not a prequel. It's just before.
It's before that happens.
Gotcha.
At least the assumption being it's got to be. Anyways, she kills her dad with telekinesis by crashing the jetty basically down onto him.
As you do.
As you do. And then like 15 years later, 17 years later, some number later, they're back at the exact same house with the girl who's now an adult and had been committed to a mental institution. She's back because the doctor, who's played by Bernie from Weekend at Bernie's, not Bernie Sanders.
Either or.
Bernie, who's still alive in this movie at this point, we're going to come back here because you got to be here to help you get through things. And he knows that she's got telekinesis and of course he's using the guise of helping her to really understand the telekinesis and try and figure out how it works. And in doing so, her telekinesis raises Jason from the dead where Tommy left him. Yeah.
I thought the whole Frankenstein lightning bolt thing was okay.
Yeah, no.
What you mean.
Like that almost makes sense now, the whole lightning bolt thing. So a whole bunch of awful, just stupid decisions are made here. And in this movie, we do actually see the moments. Like there is a scene where one girl is looking in like multiple directions, and everywhere she looks, Jason is like at that door that she's looking at. She's like, front of me, Jason, behind me. Oh, Jason, left of me. There's Jason. So we actually get that whole supernatural, like he is everywhere to everybody and everything. It's Kane Hodder playing Jason, so he's fine in that Jason thing, but the whole story is just real stupid.
Is that the guy that mocapped for the game?
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
So ultimately, this movie goes down exactly the same way as the one with Tommy, where they end up putting him basically on the jetty, and she uses her telekinesis to crash it down on him and bury him, and he's drowned. So Friday the 13th, like there's nothing good about this movie. It is legitimately the worst of all of these movies.
Oh, wait.
Until the next movie.
Okay, good.
Because now we're out of the telekinesis thing, and now we're just straight going Jason Takes Manhattan. This movie, top to bottom, like there is no redeeming value in this movie. It was so boring and hard to watch. Beth and I were like, I did not remember this movie being that bad. I remember it being one that I didn't like very much. Totally why? Because number one, it's called Jason Takes Manhattan, and it really should be Jason Takes Forever to Get to Manhattan. Because like half the movie is him on a cruise ship that somehow can go to Crystal Lake and then into the New York Harbor. Where the hell is Crystal Lake in relation to this at this point? And in every other movie, the lake has been a contained lake. Like there's trees all around it. Where the hell is a cruise ship? So it starts off with two idiot kids on a cruise ship. And one kid's like, oh man, I really hope nothing bad happens here because this is where Jason is from. And she's like, who's Jason? He's like, oh, he killed everybody. And then he pops out in the Jason mask. He's like, haha, I scared you. And in the meantime, in between time, while he's working her into this frenzy about being frightened, a lightning bolt, electricity, something. I don't even remember at this point. It was just electricity. Goes down into the water through an electrical cable that is somehow connected now and touching Jason, who is electrified back to life again.
Didn't even come up with their own really.
No, they were just like, shock the water. He's fine. Huh? He gets up onto the boat, kills those people. Then
forgetting that water is conductive. The cable wouldn't have to have been touching him if you think about it. I guess
it's completely. Look,
what a ridiculous! Come on,
I can't. You know what?
How does
science work? clearly
Stupid.
Jason doesn't know.
No wonder this movie is bad.
No wonder. So they end up on the boat. He goes through the boat, killing like everybody until there are 2 people left. They run away into New York City because, of course, they finally get there, and they do it by like getting into like a rescue boat. They like use a rescue raft to get there. So there's like 2 or 3 of them are still alive. Whatever. They get to the city. At one point, one of the guys who did live was, and this is where the kill from the game comes from, where he punches the dude's head off. Somehow, this is another one of these movies where Jason is kind of everywhere they look. He gets up on this rooftop. Jason's on the rooftop. Like, why wouldn't he be on the rooftop in New York City? The guy is
probably took the elevator, I guess.
This guy, he was shown earlier boxing, so he's gonna go, I'm gonna box you, and he starts boxing Jason. Jason just stands there, keeps getting punched, stepping backwards, getting hit. Like, all right, that's cool. And the guy finally and the sequence goes on and on and on until the kid is finally like tired out, and then he's finally like, fine, give me your best shot. Jason grabs him, punches his head off. In no way, like that scene should have been cut down to just him getting his head punched off, for one. And number 2, you're not John Carpenter. This isn't They Live. You don't need a 25-minute fight scene between your main character and your main character. It doesn't matter. So this movie ends in just the worst way possible, because in the process, I gotta mention this. He Beetlejuices somebody. There's like Jason walking down the streets of New York City. Nobody cares. It's New York. It's trash city. They build this whole thing up.
Forget about it.
Every montage.
I'm walking here.
Every montage they show like punk kids like beating people up, stealing money, shooting up. They actually do like close-ups on like guys and women like sitting in alleyways, like squirting the needle, like okay, man. So Jason's walking.
It was the 90s?
It was it was like the late 80s. It's 89. So it was the fact that it wasn't just like mounds of cocaine is still shocking and weird to me.
It's true. Wrong drug.
Right, exactly. It should have been just snowing.
Movie is bad. So
he's walking down the street, and these 4 street toughs, Switchblade, give me your money, man. Like, what are you doing? Number one, the guy he's a giant,
very large,
wearing a hockey. He's been mutated now because of how long he's been underwater. He's like just gross and just wet and covered in blood. Give me your money. All he does is lift the mask up, and they go, oh, and then they run away. He puts the mask back down.
He Beetlejuices.
He Beetlejuiced him. So how do they kill Jason? Because now they're out of their element. They're not at Crystal Lake. They don't know anything about him, really. How do you kill Jason? Well, you take him to the sewer, where for some reason the entire sewer, who they meet a guy in the sewer who's like, we got to get out of here. This place fills with toxic waste. They melt him with toxic waste. Why wouldn't you melt him with toxic waste?
I mean, it seems pretty like it would be effective.
It was, because it finally ended that painful freaking movie. It was the worst.
It's funny because your criticisms don't necessarily come across. You're like, he's on a boat that travels to Manhattan somehow, and I'm like, all right.
Let me put this in context. If this movie
punches the guy's head off.
If this movie was 120 minutes, not even that. If this movie was like 80 minutes, great. This movie is 2 hours. Okay, it's like an hour and 40 minutes, man. So Jason's dead. He's been melted into oblivion. They leave, and that's that. So now we move on to Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday.
Is it?
Now, this is a weird movie because at this point, New Line Cinema now owned the Jason character, which they did. They had rights to the property, which they didn't have in the past. And New Line Cinema also happens to own Freddy Krueger.
Right.
One of the things that people have been driving for at this point, this is early 90s, 93 is when this movie was released. People are clamoring. They want that Freddy versus Jason thing. It's been built up. Sure. It's been talked about now in little circles, but it hasn't been really laid out in the same way that even the Alien versus Predator thing, where, Predator 2, the alien skull is in there and that really kickstarted stuff. We hadn't really seen that here. And Friday the 13th, but what they decided to do was they took something from Freddy's Dead, the Final Nightmare, and kind of worked it into this. So in the Final Nightmare, they give away so Freddy in the Freddy movie,
Jason Goes to Hell is Freddy versus Jason.
No, it's not.
No.
That's called Freddy versus Jason. Let me explain why this is they're connected.
Sorry.
So in Nightmare in the Freddy movie, they give away like they take away the mystique about why Freddy is who he is, and they give him these weird little demon things that live inside him, and that's how he keeps coming back. So Jason Goes to Hell.
Wow.
This movie opens up with the girl going to a cabin. The lights go out. Okay, the bulb blew up, so I'm gonna go to the little shed outside and get some more light bulbs. And every time they're gonna do the jump scare, and they try, nothing happens. Finally, she's taking the shower because they've got to wait till she's taking the shower. Lights go out again. Okay, now Jason's after her. She runs. She's running. Then she stops. Then there are floodlights in the middle of the woods. Fire! And then there's just SWAT team just pumping Jason full of bullets. Shotguns, handguns, machine guns. Then finally you hear, incoming! And you actually hear that like that whistling sound, and like a mortar is dropped on his head. He blows up. So he is in pieces all over the place. And before they give you the credits of the final Friday, his heart's still beating, and then it stops. While it's out of his body, completely whole, by the way. So
that sounds, again, I don't know if you're criticizing
No.
Sounds like a decent beginning to a movie.
Great beginning to the movie. Fantastic. Okay. This movie, 10 times better than Jason Takes Manhattan. Way more entertaining. Jason is now so we don't know how he was resurrected from that whole sewage thing. And as far as I can tell, they've just completely retconned that movie right out of the continuity. Possibly the one before it too, where the whole psychic thing came in. So what we end up with is one of they're doing an autopsy on it, on the body parts. And the guy doing the autopsy looks at the heart, and the heart starts kind of like there's all sorts of sound effects around it, and he's looking at it weird, and it's like he's talking to him, and then he starts eating it. Yeah, because that's what you do.
Come on.
And then you get those amazing graphics of light coming out of nowhere and just jumping into his body, indicating he has been possessed by Jason. And then we're told by another character who's never ever been brought up at any point ever that Jason is more than just Jason. He can be brought into this world by a Voorhees, and he can only be taken out by a Voorhees. And Jason will possess people until he can find the right body to live forever, which is the baby. So he's going to be bouncing around. So he's possessing people left and right. He's just jumping into people, spitting this weird tongue thing into their body. Ridiculous.
Sure. So he's not going to hell yet.
So everybody that's you see Jason at this point. You've seen him in the very beginning for about 2 minutes. Then you see him 2 more times in reflections from the people he's possessed, because that makes sense. Then, before he finally is fully resurrected, one of the characters, the main character, sees him in a reflection and actually sees Jason while he's possessing somebody, because he's a vampire now. So that whole
quantum leap, dude. Come
mirror
on.
thing.
You've seen the show.
So these two
Science,
characters, man. So you get your main character who's now there is Jason had a sister, and his sister had a niece. So it's either the sister or the niece is going to be possessed. Well, the sister gets killed, so she gets possessed. I don't know why I said possessed the first time. It sounds good. Possessed. So she gets possessed, immediately turns into Jason as Jason. There's a dagger, special dagger, just got to stick it in his heart, kills him. Girl stabs him in the heart, kills him. Kicks him one more time, gets the dagger all the way in there. All the light things go pew, 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 and Jason dies. The end of the movie so all these demons, demon arms, start pulling him into hell. So they get him. He's in hell. The mask is now sitting on top of this dusty area, and everything is good. Wind starts blowing. A dog comes by. Picks up the mask, drops the mask, walks away. One final demon hand, Freddy Krueger's glove, comes up, grabs the mask, pulls it under the end of Jason. Right until somehow he gets resurrected again and goes to space. But that's going to be a tale for next week.
Yeah.
Holy crap. These movies go downhill so fast after 6, and 6 wasn't great. Like I realized
still
that I'm
like the boat that can travel from a lake to Manhattan.
I'm totally blown away. That one does not make any sense to me whatsoever. Whatsoever. I love that I love that it's a mystical dagger is what kills him. Like that's it. That's what it took. The magic dagger.
I don't know how you distinguish, like, why are we drawing the line at that?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is all, first you got psychic people, then you've got boats to travel on land.
I don't know how you would choose what it should be at that point. I think it's just whatever.
At this point, yeah, it's, final Thor's going to come down in the next movie. And
well, you wish.
Yeah, jeez. I do. So that was my Friday the 13th bit. And then... we did finish the second season of Game of Thrones. I wish I liked that show nearly as much as my wife. Like, she is into it,
we've already talked about that, and you've got 20 minutes of Friday the 13th.
I know. We finished it, though, and it does end in a good way, and there are characters I still want to see, so I'm interested in, I guess, where that goes. I don't know. More interesting than that, we started Westworld. Dude, that first episode of that show, that was, like... glued to the screen. Good
as it looks.
Yeah. And like the best part of it is the fact that James Marsden is like you see him right away. He's like the first person you see. He's killed like right away. Then you see him again. Then he's killed again. He's killed like 4 times in the first episode alone.
All right.
And I'm hoping it's a running gag that he just dies all the time because he is really good at it. Like Mark Wahlberg.
He's a robot, right?
It appears so. He would be a robot.
Okay.
I already really like where they're going with it. They're definitely exploring the themes greater than they did in the movie about robots becoming more than robots and all that. So cool. I'm really looking forward to it. Anthony Michael Hopkins is very cool. I'm a big fan.
He is so weird. Like he'll show up in a movie and I'll be like, oh, he's gotten too old to do things now. And then the next movie after that, he's like really good. I'm like, what is?
Oh yeah, no. So
maybe he's just over my head.
So he totally had a comment very recently about Transformers 5. Like it was one of those ones like the Michael Caine comment about Jaws 4, where he's like, I've never seen the movie, but I've seen the house it paid for. He totally pulled one of those when somebody asked him about why he did Transformers 5. It's like, well, buck's a buck,
dude. Everybody pulls one of those about a Transformers movie. Show me the star that they approach about the Transformers movie they were in, and they feed you anything else but that line. Bull.
I know. It's phenomenal to me that these movies are still occurring. I'm thankful to hear that this one, I guess, did not do well at all. So
that would be nice.
Cross your fingers that the next 4 movies they've got on the docket will be as good.
I know. Yeah, they'll only make 4 more now.
Yeah.
I didn't get a ton of stuff done with all the holidaying. We ended up at a breakfast barbecue and then a lunch barbecue and then a dinner barbecue.
Dude, that sounds amazing.
It feels real bad right now. Probably should have eliminated one of those. But my parents ended up coming over. I have family over in the middle of the day, and we played this game called Imagine, and it's got a deck of cards. They're all translucent except for one picture in the middle. And the game is basically you get a card that has a bunch of categories and then clues on it. You have to create or get the rest of the group to guess your clue using all these translucent cards. So basically, the first thing that pops into my mind, I was like, oh, this is a game for those guys who like creating swastikas out of all the random shapes in Call of Duty avatars, right? It's that exact thing.
Yeah, I know. So what the first thing you did? Swastika.
I don't know if they did this on purpose, but it turns out it's super hard. Like none of us got it. Like none of us ever guessed what the other person was trying to do. After like 15 minutes a pop, we're like, no, we're like trying to create a picture. I've got like 10 cards on the table. I'm like, how can't you see it? There's a cloud. It's snowing on a mountain. And then there's action line. It's avalanche. Nobody, like we all disliked that game very quickly.
I can imagine. It doesn't sound very fun.
But Before all that, I'm lucky that I got in at least 2 movies, one of which was Scream 4. I have ended, I'm sorry I can't do this with more fanfare, but my Craven run is done. Finished.
The Craven run is done.
And not bad, actually. Yeah, that's okay. That was enough fanfare. So Scream 4 is impossibly good.
It's super great.
Like they
it's
quadruple down on things and pull it off.
I remember it was good. I remember I liked it. I know I liked everything more than Scream 3, so that was the one I didn't like the most.
Well, it's all the original, like Kevin Williamson's doing the writing.
Right.
Craven's back. Like they seriously just pulled off. Like everybody's in a different spot. It's very much takes place like, it's definitely Scream 4. Like everybody's doing kind of something different in their roles. There's a little bit of trying to kind of reinvent themselves or who they were.
Yeah.
Which I guess isn't reinvention, but it's works. Like the lines they put in there, the stuff that they do that's all, fourth wall, like a movie within a movie stuff, the self-referential stuff is still good. Like I said, they quadruple down on all this stuff and still pull it off. It's insane if you think about it.
I am thinking about it and I'm going mad.
Okay. But not even, I don't care, whatever. I saw Baby Driver.
Oh man, I want to see it so bad.
You do.
I do.
When we can talk maybe more about it, then it's
here. Okay,
I'll give you some things to watch for it.
Give me some things. What do you got? No, so I know based on another podcast called Comedy Bing Bong that John Hamm I think was number 3 on the call sheet, which means he has a pretty hefty bit in the movie, I would imagine.
Yeah, he shows up at the beginning, disappears for a while, and then he's a force throughout the end.
I love that guy in pretty much everything he does because he has a sense of humor about everything.
He's super good. Like and it's even a character I actually haven't seen him do before, I would say. And he does. He nails it. Everybody, all of the characters in this one are super good. Like the kind of backstories, but also they're really fleshed out. Like they know who they are regardless of what you see in the the type thing.
Which, I mean, that stands to Edgar Wright, though. I think he does that. I think
for sure. Oh, yeah.
He's really detailed about what those characters are and where they come from. And
from the beginning, like, all of his Simon Pegg work, like that's been a staple of the Cornetto trilogy and all that. Like, characters are the thing besides the comedy almost. Or they know how to feed off each other. It's all here, for sure. I will say, this is what I want to hear back on. It starts out super strong, like everything, and I don't know if you've seen some of the reviews about this. I knew music was a big component. It totally is. It starts out super strong, like the action is good, the music is a total like musical in a way that you wouldn't expect a lot of the times. In the beginning, it's more kind of in your face, like he's walking down the street to the music, like stuff that he's doing. It's still very cool,
right? But
it's not something they can hold for the entire movie, and probably shouldn't hold for the entire movie. There was a point where I was like, man, at the beginning they kind of made this promise and they didn't necessarily go with it for the entire time. But then I realized if they had like all the character work or a large part of it probably would have gone out the window. Like it would have been almost more style than substance, even if the style was really, really awesome.
Right. And that's something again that you really can't ever claim about Edgar Wright. Like he has both, but I totally know what you're saying. There are aspects I think to all of his movies where I'm like, man, if there were a little bit more of that, I would have loved it. And then you look back on it, you're like, but it wouldn't have been Edgar Wright.
Exactly. Yeah.
It just wouldn't have worked.
It's smart in that way. I also think I missed a ton. Like there are times where I know the music was doing something with it's more subtle, but I know the music was doing something with what was going on more than just, syncopated to the beat. Because a lot of it is just kind of syncopated to the beat of the music, or the characters will say some of the lyrics that are in the song or not in the song, but it's going with the song or something like that. I need to see it again. I totally need to see it again. But
I would also, I would say before you see it again, take a minute and listen to the Comedy Bang Bang episode if you have it downloaded, or if you go check and see if you can get it with Edgar Wright and John Hamm, because there actually is a whole section where Wright talks about how he directed all the car sequences and how the music played into it, and how he
car sequences are so good.
It was, and the way they did it was like they played the music beforehand so that he could see, and then they there's a whole thing to it.
I'm watching that. Yeah, no, I need that. For sure.
It was good. And on top of that, it's just a really funny episode. Like a lot of Paul F. Tompkins, I think, is in that one.
Big surprise. Yeah. No. Yeah. Okay.
So the good stuff.
I will also say I need that because I'm still not sure about the ending. Like I feel like they didn't land the ending. Kind of actually. It's
and that's
still
what I've
good
read. That's been the one
satisfactory, but it doesn't. I feel like it doesn't make good on a lot of the promises.
It underdelivered.
It kind of does, but it also doesn't. It's not what the movie led you to believe the ending was going to be. Like it's so musical focused, you thought that we can talk about it. We can maybe get a little. I don't want to get too spoilery.
Yeah, because I actually don't know how it. But I have read that's been a thing.
And I'm not even talking about like the story beats. Like as far as that goes, the ending's probably a lot better. It was just structurally,
the one of the comparisons I actually heard was that it's got the same. It runs the same issue that Wonder Woman has. The third act makes perfect sense in the context. It's just weak. Period. It's just not
executed.
It's just not great.
Maybe not as
right
expected or promised or
and not even the third act, just the finale really. But
I'll listen to that podcast.
Do it.
You see the movie.
Okay.
And this, you know what? This is probably one that ends up in when we split the cast, right?
Maybe that's the first one.
It could be the first one. Yeah. No. This needs. Yeah.
All right.
We should do that.
Let's do that.
Video games are a thing.
Let's do that. Video games. I did some. Played some.
Whoa.
Couple. Few. Okay. I don't want to bring up too much about Injustice 2. I did have a weird thing happen though while I was playing the game and while I was in the middle of a game I paused. I finished a tower, paused the game, walked away, came back, and it had like something bizarre. I've never seen this happen in the middle of a game.
Superman was an interesting character?
Dude, don't even get me started right now because you don't want to get me started on Superman being an interesting character.
That would have been a crazy glitch, though.
No,
right?
I have a crazy glitch about that's unrelated to the game. But anyways, the game, like, it closed itself and forced an update. Like, I had the pop-up that said, you have a 1.2 gig update. Dang. And I'm like, that's never happened before. So fine, update the game. Log back in, and I get a weird message. It's like, you have a different save file than the current version of the game.
Ooh, scary.
If you move forward, you could lose da-da-da-da. I'm like, all right. So I click forward, and yeah, sure enough, I lost 2 levels on one of my characters and lost and lost 2 pieces of epic gear out of it. Which
are you sure it wasn't like a scarecrow thing? Like he's just trying to.
It was unfortunately not. It was less Metal Gear than I was hoping. It was not Psycho Mantis, which was super. Yeah. So,
dude, how cool would that be? You opened up the game and it's like, sorry, your save file is kind of corrupted. And you're like, oh no. And then like the scarecrow comes out or something is like, and you're like, dang it.
I've been crowed. And then we played Friday the 13th, and that was literally the only other game I played this weekend, I think.
Hey, it sounds like you had your hands full with Friday the 13th.
It was, yeah. The Friday the 13th was good, though. We played a bunch of rounds in game chat, and we had a couple of...
It worked?
It worked. Me? Yeah, it was, and we had a couple of moments of real hilarity, and at least one of them... this is one of the downsides, is that you can't record the audio from the party because there is a clip sitting up on the I actually uploaded it to the 0HITPOINTS group. There's a clip up there of Ryan looking through something, like looking through a cabin. Then another character that looks just like him runs past him, and you can briefly see him. He dives out the window, which is hilarious every time anyways. But then Ryan's like, oh, what happened? Turns around, and all I heard, I wasn't next to him, and we were in game chat, so it was totally based on proximity. I was close enough to the cabin to hear a ah! And then
not an exaggeration.
And it was the fun, like just crying. I was laughing so hard.
I knew he was close because of the music, obviously. Then I saw the dude in the cabin with me. I was like, okay, we made it in the cabin. Like, let's, start doing the cabin thing so we can give him the old run around. And we run into, I think it was a bathroom. And yeah, that dude, because if you're running fast enough, when you hit go out the window, you go through the window immediately. So that guy did that. And I was like, oh man. And then that's when I swung my camera around to the room behind me to make sure we were good. And he was right freaking there. And I did. I screamed.
It was
loud.
Funny. We also got a couple of good clips of of a couple of glitches. One where Jason choke slams somebody into the ground, like into the geometry.
Clipped him right through.
And again, this was one of those things that we kind of realized that you brought up prior, that even after you die, the game can still be kind of fun because it's that voyeuristic horror movie thing. We ran into a situation where we actually kind of had a good Jason that was actually doing like playing pretty aggressively and smartly and getting the kills, and you clicked over to the person that was Tommy Jarvis. I clicked over to a person that was right in front of Tommy, and we both were able to, like, I rotated the camera around so I caught the kill from further away that you caught like right on top of it. And the one that you caught, of course, was glitched as all hell, and it was hilarious. Where again, Tommy's floating in midair after he's dead.
He's stuck. It's one of the most horrifying kills I've ever seen, honestly. I could have spent money on this game.
You could have.
No, I'm finally getting some of those games.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It makes a world of difference in what those games are. Like when you get those games, you're like, man, if every game was like this game is blockbuster, like to hit every time. But it's not.
I do wish still it's running solid. Like we didn't get booted again, so that was cool. It's still, there's the thing when you die and you're spectating and you can't hear any of the people in the game.
Right.
Like, I wish I could hear you, especially if I'm switching characters to spectate a character. I wish I could hear what you were saying or hear your game audio or something like that.
And I have to assume the reason they do that is so that people, because I feel like that was there at one point. And I think the reason they either took it out or don't do it is because too many people are, oh, I'm dead, I'm going to now tell Jason where everybody is. And that, that ruins the hide and seek fun of it. And that's been an issue. There's been a lot of issues of counselors helping the Jason character, because in a game that's totally not competitive. I don't want to communicate with anybody. I know you don't, but other people have, where they've died and then they'll just invite the Jason to a party or whatever, and they'll tell them where they are.
Well, they can still do that.
Right, but they can't tell them what they're hearing. They can't say, oh, they like, I know that they're going this direction, or I know they're doing this.
Oh.
I don't know that I agree with it. Because again, this goes back to, you're going to waste your time freaking cheating to get all of the quote unquote best stuff for what? Like, what are you doing with the game that
this
I just don't understand.
And there are games where I could even see that, or have done grinding myself in a similar way. I don't mess around with. I try not to mess around with online stuff anyway. But yeah, this is one of those games where even I'm like, why would you? Do that.
So Friday the 13th, don't glitch. Really interesting. This is good news. It's already out on PC and PS4. The patch is coming for the Xbox One within the next week or so. There's been a glitch for a while now that campers can get on top of Packanack Lodge and then just run out the time, and Jason can't do anything. They finally fixed that glitch.
We haven't run into that. That group we played with is actually pretty cool too. I think we stuck with the same group the entire time.
Pretty much.
Eventually, a kid joined and he was a little
and he immediately got muted by me, and then somebody was like, hey, did you guys get the purple Jason skin? And then some guy was like, we all got it, you're not special.
They were not kind.
And the minute we got into the game,
young man,
he goes, I feel kind of bad for that kid, but he's not special. Fair
but none of us heard him because that kid was just mile a minute.
Yep. And muted by me.
Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah, let me tell you. Hey, why did Superman become an interesting character?
No, you really don't want to, because it's comic book stuff.
It's
not really.
It didn't happen in the game.
It does. I mean, I think that Superman is like by far more interesting than almost every other Superman I've ever read. But there's been a development in the Superman comics since Rebirth that I can't believe I'm shockingly like into that book.
Okay.
Like
digging this Rebirth line.
The main Superman book. What they did was with the Rebirth stuff. I don't know. You don't want to get into.
I take it all back.
Yeah.
And then I played a ton of Gears of War 4.
Yeah.
Again,
you
grinding away.
Are a maniac.
And let me tell you, the following ends really badly.
Really?
Yeah.
You finished it?
I finished it, and because for anybody not getting the joke, that I'm watching TV while Gears is going in the background, but it must have been canceled. Like there's no There's no wrap up. Number one, if there was a spot where they could have ended it, and it would have been actually not bad, and it would have been kind of an ending that you don't see a whole lot of time, especially on TV. So that would have been cool. Like, I'm gonna spoil it. All right.
Oh, it must have been Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bacon loses. It's got to be.
Kevin Bacon dies.
Yeah.
He doesn't necessarily lose. Like, it's a happy-ish ending, but Kevin Bacon dies.
Yeah.
And they could have ended it there, and kind of cool, actually.
Why would you why would you continue the show without him?
He doesn't die, Matt.
Oh,
the end
I see what
of
you're
that
saying.
series
Got it.
is everybody's in the hospital, or Iceman's in the hospital, because it's Sean Ashman.
Yep. Quantum Breaker.
And this figure comes into the hospital and goes to the girl who was in league with the bad guys and says some stuff, and it's Kevin Bacon, and then he kills her basically in cold blood after she gives him the information, which that's been like Kevin Bacon's character is, is he good or bad? Like, he's always towing the line and crossing it, and like in this split second at the very end of the series, apparently he completely goes overboard. So I could see how the final or season after that could have been something if he was just way out of control, but that never would happen. They would have been trying to half redeem him the whole time anyways,
which would have just been stupid. Make him the cult leader. Yeah. Make him the guy.
But yeah, it gets canceled, so it doesn't matter. The series ends like that, and it's
perfect.
Tell you what doesn't end poorly at all is I also watched the entire current season of Better Call Saul, completely caught up.
Man, okay, so I'm not caught up, but I know what happens at the end of the season, and there's some depth they're going for. It's Gilligan. I mean, what am I expecting?
Yeah, there's no spoiler, because the minute to minute is gold in Vince Gilligan, in Breaking Bad or so. I will say this: Better Call Saul, I think, might be better than Breaking Bad. Actually,
I got to tell you, man, I blew through the 2 seasons that are on Netflix. Like as soon as they came out, like I watched them and I finished them. Never even got close to being that engrossed by Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad's super enjoyable, and there's again minute to minute, and there's some moments in that series that are mind blowing.
Definitely, yeah.
But Breaking Bad, I always got the feeling, and I mean, it's not even the feeling. Like this could probably be substantiated. Was kind of a runaway hit and got kind of elongated because of that. One of those shows where I bet Vince Gilligan thought he was going to get a good 2 seasons, maybe tell a good story out of it, and then it was just freaking bonkers.
Right.
So you get the feeling that even though it's good and you got lots of just crazy stories in there, that it kind of was, kind of running, not spinning its wheels, but they were adding stuff. There
are definitely moments in that show where. And to be perfect, I still haven't finished it, but there are things where you have to wonder, like, how long would it really have taken the DEA to figure this all out? Like his cousin, his brother, whatever he is, whatever Tony from Total Recall is, like you've got to be the worst DEA agent in the world at this point. Like
I guess I'm saying I don't think
or something, but
you get the feeling like he didn't have, or he did have an overall game plan or story arc for the show, and then made it longer because it was doing so well, or AMC was probably giving him just $1 zillion.
It would be super interesting to know which of those characters, like where they were at the beginning, like when he was thinking of it. Did Tuco go out the way that's how he was planning on doing? Like even further, what about what's his name? Gus. Like, did that character even exist at the beginning of the show when he was writing it? Or did he show up,
Yeah, it's totally, stuff like that. Like Better Call Saul, you get the feeling like he's had a very more specific game plan since the beginning. And I guess, he's got something to build to also, because it's a prequel to Breaking Bad, right? So you get lots of that, stuff coming in that calls back to, Breaking Bad. But yeah, for that reason, like I feel like it's way tighter, that show. And the speaking of character work, forget freaking Baby Driver even. Like the characters in that show, the relationship between Saul and Kim, it might be the best in TV ever. Like those people know who they are, and again have so much history that just doesn't make it to the screen in more than like a line where you're like, oh, I know exactly the type of person that is. I know exactly what they just said right now. Like everything carries a weight that is insane. That's a good show.
Yeah.
So
how is Gears of War 4?
I also did a stream of Micro Machines.
That was fun.
The NES game.
That was cool.
One question comes to mind. What did I do with that thing for so long when I was a kid? It is just like race after race.
Just like RC Pro-Am, man. I was playing, when I play, I was like, man, this is cool. It is just this over and over. All right, fair enough.
It is.
Guess
what
I loved
did
it.
I do for so long? There is some variation to it. Like I got a bonus level that I didn't get the first time around, I think. And I think maybe one of the tracks came out of order, but the first, I only got to like level 7, which is
6 levels further than you needed to get.
Probably. But yeah, I'm not gonna keep going until I beat that one. Let's put it that way. But fun trip. And I hear the new Micro Machines might be worth a buy actually. So
could be. Check it out.
And then I played a bunch of the Jackbox Party Pack too.
Always a good time.
Yeah, which I didn't actually have. And I don't know. I had 1 and 3, and then it went on sale for this big old Xbox sale, so I finally picked it up.
Fine, I guess I'll get this one too.
I played everything. Like Fibbage 2's in there. I've already played Fibbage, so we didn't do that. There's a game called Earwax. Have you played through all of the ones for Jackbox 2?
No.
Okay, so maybe not the strongest pack so far. We also played TKO it's TKO.
TKO. I like that one. That was
T-shirt
fun.
knockout for Jackbox 3.
Yeah.
So that pack is kind of already very strong because that game is fantastic. But Earwax is, you're choosing, like there's the judge gets a phrase, and then you have to choose 2 sounds that make that phrase.
Okay.
Yeah,
I remember this game.
There's a couple little things about it. It's fun, and we did get some laughs out of it, but
fart sound.
Like there's so many fart sounds. Yeah, my wife was the only one that got an achievement for that game, and it was for not choosing a bodily function for any of her answers. Nobody else got that one.
Still questioning why she's with you. That's what the whole family was like, why is she the only one getting this achievement? Ryan.
I did not get the one for choosing only bodily functions, so I guess there isn't one. And then Bidiots.
Vidiots.
With the B. Bidiots.
Bidiots, even worse.
Like bidding. Get it?
Oh! I don't get it.
Not super sure about the rules to this game.
It sounds racist.
It's fairly complicated. You're like bidding on stuff, but you're bidding for people, but then you know what certain stuff is worth.
It definitely sounds racist now.
So you
I don't know.
Okay.
It's,
somebody won, and that was exciting. And then Quiplash, which I actually haven't played before.
I like Quiplash. That's fun.
That's maybe the standout from that pack, isn't it?
It's good. It's the one that we play the most when we play.
And that's fun. And it's super simple too. You're just basically
quipping, lashing.
Which is basically just it gives you like a phrase or a fill in the blank, and you're writing in your own answers now, which is where it maybe gets a little bit more fun.
Yeah.
Because you can write in whatever you want, and then people vote, and
for example, like the hit song from Broadway's show Fart the Musical, you could put the answer "Crop Dust My Heart" or "Smells Like Love."
Yes, excellent description.
Thank you, jackboxtv.com/quiplash website.
And then we played Bomb Corp, which is, no joke, an 8-bit kind of party version of Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes.
Oh, all right. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Like you're given, it's way less complicated. You're given like 3 rules, and you should read them all at once. Everybody has a different rule on their device. So you're kind of, do you ever play Space Team on your phone?
No.
Okay, yes, but you got to check out Space Team. Next time you have more than maybe 3 people in your house, Space Team on your phone, dude. Yeah, what have you been doing? This is like that. Like I said, you have to communicate and tell everybody what the rule is, and then somebody also has the actions. And they might split up the actions too. I don't know. There was only 3 of us at the time. We lost some players, so
yeah,
it's also pretty good. It's
nice.
A fun one. And that was it.
Great.
For video games.
Let's go and talk about these super news items that are going to take no amount of time.
Nope.
Here, do you remember when Mass Effect Andromeda came out and then it didn't do as well as anybody expected to? And then there was this rumor on Facebook that was like, hey, Mass Effect Andromeda won't be getting any single player DLC. But then BioWare was like, okay, that Facebook post is bunk. The guy who wrote that isn't even from not even a real company.
Fake news.
Except now that it did come out, it's been confirmed by multiple sources that there will be no single player DLC for Mass Effect Andromeda.
Somebody, they were like, hey, come on, that's not true. But then somebody else was like, but maybe.
What if we don't? That could really, really make some waves.
Yeah, so somebody is relieved and or upset, and
I'm sure there's like at least two people in between.
For the people that bought the game, dude, given the day, like on DLC, I'm kind of one where, because I like it when games end. And DLC doesn't have like a great track record. It's more kind of like, you like the game, here's a way to play more of the game, not necessarily, especially when it's story stuff, not necessarily like here's a really good story thing, more just like, here. So yeah, I don't know, that somebody's probably upset because they liked the game enough, and I think they should probably just cut their losses. So, and
I think they did.
More interesting,
is it?
It is. No, check this out. I mean, okay,
fine.
It is a Destiny 2 news item. How did you know? There's in Destiny 1, the way they did loot was that there were still rolls that happened. Like, you would roll stats on the guns and stuff like that. And then the armor, you could get pieces of armor that were the same but were a couple points higher or lower, because there was a degree of randomness to how the armor was created when you got it or whatever.
Right.
The loot. That is not going to be the case for Destiny 2. Apparently, everything in that game is going to be handcrafted.
Yeah.
Which I think is fan-freaking-tastic.
I think that's an interesting choice. I mean, it's probably better for them. The developers, or the designers have mentioned a few times that Luke Smith in particular was one who brought up that migrating to this type of build out allows them to tune per item as opposed to tuning like entire swaths of items, which was an issue last time. They had to tune one thing. They had to tweak stats on like everything. So now they can kind of do it on one, which is fine. They get a little more flexibility there. That's cool. It does get rid of that lottery thing that was kind of maybe that was exciting for people. The whole I don't know what I'm going to get.
I just hate the juggle, though.
Especially
it's
if
like
you knew
I've got like
get.
3 of the same item that are slightly different. Like which one? Like eliminating that from the whole loot chase. I love. Like I don't see a downside, honestly.
Now the one thing they do mention here, and this is again just something that caused for alarm to me. This is not alarm, but like this is not something that it doesn't sound good to me.
We're not gonna get the game, Matt.
No, I'm not. But he mentions that the writer from Mashable mentions that it's hard to get excited about getting another of the same gun when it's going to have the same stats and perks as the first one. And Luke Smith's response was, how can my 2nd, 3rd, and 10th better Devil's Hand cannon be interesting? That's a question we should be asking and answering as quickly as we can. We have ideas. While I would like nothing more to share those ideas with you, we're up against a deadline. I don't know if they'll make it to our September 6th release date, but we have some ideas that we're pretty excited about. So they already know people are going to get a ton of the same gun, and they have no idea how they're going to make it different.
Okay, yeah, that's where this goes wrong. Yeah, definitely. I was thinking you wouldn't get as many duplicates if they did something like this. That seems like the easy solution.
Right.
You're just getting more different guns that comparison seems more fun.
And now not so much. So
I could see how that would take a ton more work, but
yeah. So again, it'll be. I'll be interested to see what that resolution is, and if they ever bring it up prior to the September 6th release date.
Are you going to play the beta with me yet?
I mean, probably.
Okay. Well, there was a time where you weren't even that.
I don't want to. Like, I have no interest in it whatsoever.
Okay.
But
as long as we're being honest.
But in the grand scheme of, will it be real fun to watch me just be angry and possibly have that sudden, oh my gosh, this game is amazing. It could be real fun to have that recorded.
Last but not least, hey, somebody's leaving the game industry, and his name is Rafael Colantonio. Okay, sorry. maybe not leaving the games industry. The head of Arkane, been the head of Arkane, one of the heads of Arkane, one of the founders of Arkane.
Yeah.
After 18 years is leaving and says it's been crazy and so long.
Yeah, basically that's what he did. That was an interesting article because they do kind of quickly touch on the fact that a lot of the reasons he's giving sounds an awful lot like a lot of the reasons a lot of people give for burning out in the industry.
Oh yeah,
not enough time at home, personal, just being able to work on the things you want to work on, owning things that you work on, blah blah blah. So after 18 years at Arkane Studios,
a lot of good thoughts. Like mostly just like farewell, like thank you,
so long, thanks for all the fish.
Also pay attention to what he says, maybe.
Yeah, and after 18 years at Arkane Studios, so long, Rafael Colantonio. It was great to see you, and now we'll see you later. But until then, we'll kill the time with the lightning round.
Okay, these are the news items we don't want to spend more than a couple seconds on. So, Matt, it's your turn this week.
Okay, 30 seconds on the clock.
Would you? No, don't you do that.
30 seconds on the clock.
Don't you do that.
30 seconds.
And you're going to give a cool, fun answer to all these news items, every single one of them.
It will be cool.
Are you ready for the first one?
I'm ready.
Okay. Somebody mailed a bag of penises to an EVE Online developer. Matt?
Okay. Number one, I don't like the accusation. I never played EVE Online. I don't even know who the developer is, what his address is, why I would send him bags of penises. I might, but I wouldn't, and I didn't. So you know what? No. A
little too close to home, Matt?
Penises or mailing them?
Check out these games that are coming out. You ready? Tomorrow is Kirby's Blowout Blast. You didn't see that title beforehand, did you? It sounds painful, right?
I remember when my daughter was like 2 years old, we were at the freaking aquarium, and she said I had a blast because we were watching Jimmy Neutron, and she said I had blast. And I was like, what? And I realized she had diarrhea. She had a blowout in her diaper.
What? And that's where it comes from.
Kirby had diarrhea. Oh, poop.
Well, man. Shoot. Friday's not going to do you any favors. Fable Fortune's coming out, which is that collectible card game from the Fable universe. Fable Fortune Blowout Blast. Coming on Friday.
Never going to win.
Next Tuesday, the 11th, you betcha, it is Final Fantasy XII, The Zodiac Age. I don't know what that is.
This is actually very exciting because I can't wait. I didn't know they were going to place Final Fantasy at any point in San Francisco during the time of the Zodiac. So that's very exciting. I hope David Fincher's been involved.
See, and I had a Ted Cruz joke in my pocket. But
either way, same guy.
Cool. That's it. Listen to us next week. We'll be talking about games such as Infinite Warfare.
7 years going.
That I will play. Gears of War 4, aka some TV show.
Yep. I know what I'm going to play. I'm gonna play some Disney Afternoon.
Oh, I did get that. That was on the best deal on that sale.
Yeah, I'm gonna
rock
a
couple other things too.
I want to check out DuckTales.
Yeah, you do. I got another game from that thing that I didn't know if I would get. Tokyo 42. You ever seen that?
No.
I might be surprising if I don't play that this week as well. That's at the very least, I'm downloading that soundtrack. I'll tell you that much. Right now.
Fair enough. I'm gonna play Disney Afternoon. I'm gonna play some more Hitman.
Sure. Good reason.
And
now I'm gonna go to 0HITPOINTS.com and check out all the fun content.
I'm gonna go to 0points.content.com.